Hello, you. Thank you for joining me. Let's look at chapter 16 of the book of Psalms. Really good one. Again, written by David. And it's just, these words are from a man who is totally devoted to God and nothing else. Now let's read them together. He says, "Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing." The other version says, "Every good thing I have comes from you." And that's a challenge, isn't it? Because he's saying that it's not like, no, he's saying that he takes everything that he has into account and says, without you, God, all that I have is nothing. So the good thing, number one good thing in his life is God. And I just want to challenge you right now and say, would we be able to say that, or are we saying that we love God and we trust God because everything else we have is working fine? Because that's what we do. We've got a good job, we've got children are behaving, good investments, things are going on well, and you say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, because I have this, all of this. But if all of that was taken away, would we still say, thank you, God, because I have life? Even though I don't have anything else, I have you, and then I am good. And that's what he's saying. And he continues to talk about how he delights in the people of God, and then he runs away from people who runs after God. But this verse 5 says, "Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my Lord secure." Other verses says, "You alone my inheritance, my cup of blessings." Let me break this down. What it basically means is that for him, it's not what comes from God that makes his Lord secure. It is God himself, reiterating what he said earlier in verse 2. And he says, "You are my cup of blessings." Not the things that come from God is what he calls blessing, but God himself is his blessing. I love that. I just love that. When it's such a challenge, though, he doesn't. Some of us will come to God because we want things. He just says, "I'm just happy because you're there, God, and because you're mine." And then verse 8, and I love it as well. "I keep my eyes always on the Lord, with him at my right hand. I will not be shaken." Yes, I've set the Lord always before me because he is at my right hand. I'm not going to be moved. Brothers and sisters, we're going to meet a lot of things in life. And this is the attitude that we ought to have. Stand firm, eyes focused on God, so that nothing else will be moved. I know some of you, I'm saying this, the image probably that's just come to mind is of Peter walking on water. When he had set his eyes on Jesus, he was walking on water. But suddenly when he started thinking about the waves and started looking elsewhere, he started to sink. That should be our attitude. Always our eyes always on God, and therefore we will not be moved. Yes. And then God's verse 9 says, "Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also rests secure." His heart is glad, his tongue is rejoicing, he's giving praises to God, not because the things are going well, but because he's made up his mind who is working by his side. And that's the attitude that we ought to have. And that's a real challenge, isn't it? And then he goes to say, because in verse 10, "Because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful one see decay." Now, we know that this is a prophetic verse speaking of Jesus for when he died, because it was only 3 days in the grave. I know that it's been quoted in Acts chapter 13 and Acts chapter 2, explaining that the death and resurrection of Jesus was already foretold, and this is one of the verses that are around to. But here is it in verse 11. Let's finish. "You make known to me the path of life." Not only does it give you life, but it shows you a way to go, and you fill me with joy in your presence. The presence of this person does not come from the things that God gives. It comes from him just knowing God, that God is with him, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. And he knows that it's not only for now, but it's for the afterlife as well. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to stop here, but it's a challenge, a lot to take in, but it's just a challenge of how we look at life. Where is God in your life? Is God there when things are going well? When things start going south, we start looking at there's that witch or wizard, and that's such a place. He can go give me some medicine, or we run to other people for advice, and then we come to God like last. That's not what this person is saying. He says that we put God first in everything. And my prayer to you, my prayer for us is that in this year we get to that place where we rejoice in God just for God being God. God bless you.